Warning. The following video contains spoilers for the inner workings and behind-the-scenes processes of the Project 863 series. If you do not wish to be spoiled on future or past videos, nor have the spell of the series broken, you have been warned.
Oh, hey, didn't know you'd be here today. Welcome to my crib. So today I'm going to be walking through how we did D3B.
If all goes according to plan, accounting for any preconceived hiccups along the way, the absolute date is 12/31/124.
But, sorry, if you're looking for a face reveal, that's not happening. We're gonna make me D3B today.
Ooh.
If you hear kids whining in the background, I need to do a better job disciplining. No, I'm just at home, obviously. Okay, so first what we're gonna do is we're gonna start off in Final Cut here, okay? So we open up the session, and then what we say is that's premature because we don't even have footage yet.
True.
Because if we're not gonna reveal who D3B is, I gotta shoot something, and I gotta be D3B. So today, what we're doing here, in my closet full of gear, we're grabbing this. This is like the best invention for gamers anywhere.
All G-boys.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
Look how amazing that is. We're gonna pull out this secret little hidden camera.
Ooh.
We're gonna turn her on. We're gonna turn her on. We're gonna... What the f***? Oh,
There you go.
I needed to turn it off first. I must have just left it on forever. We're gonna turn this light on a little bit. We're gonna turn straight towards camera. We're gonna open up OBS. We don't typically record this on a Mac because OBS on a Mac is a nightmare, and I like Macs. Hi! Welcome to Project 863. I am D3B 2.0. Back at it again with another video. Cool. Okay, and then we stop recording. That's what we're going to be turning into D3B today. And then we're going to just drag that puppy into Final Cut. Drag you into Final Cut. Boom. Okay. So, first thing we want to do is we want to actually green screen this thing. We want to key this puppy.
It's an effect.
Yeah, it's an effect. And we just key it, right? It needs a little bit of work. Basically, you kind of got to like muck around with your keying settings because it's always going to be a little bit different.
Matt's trying to right now find the green that is on the green screen. Get as much of it as possible.
Yeah.
So it's a smooth to pretty much remove himself from it.
That's what I wasn't understanding. Sample color, I need to actually select. There we go. And so then what we do is we actually just crop it so we don't see you guys in the background.
We gotta eliminate it.
Boom. Okay, so you guys basically get the premise now. There's a little bit of issues up here, so we can kind of like muck around until we...
What issues are we seeing up there?
So, like, see that? It's just basically lighting on the mat. It doesn't even matter because we can also just move inwards because I don't move, so that's really the solution to that. But what we want to do is we want to also make sure we're not doing too much here, because if you key too much, then you take out all the green from the face.
Mm-hmm.
Really amateur green screening, you can tell when it's green screened. Not because all the edges and everything like that, but because you've literally taken the green out of the skin, right? And all that's left is like yellow and red, and it just looks haunting. You know what I mean?
And it's all the natural green you're talking about, right? Not all of the reflected green.
Yeah, all of the natural green, exactly, in your skin tone. So I'm not going to worry about that because we're literally converting everything to green, so I'm not going to really worry about skin tones right now. D3B 2.0. What we're going to do now is we're going to compound this clip, even though it's not anything. There's no other clips with it. Nest it, in other words, right? For like Adobe people. And the reason why you nest it is because when you apply effects, you have to worry about like the chain of command with the effects, right? So if you apply effect without nesting it, then you're basically applying it to another effect as well. If you nest it, the second effect treats it as if it were just a rendered clip. If that makes sense.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay, so check this out. This clip that you see here is really interesting. No one would ever assume. So you see how this is like moving and flashing and stuff like that? This is actually some really close up footage of inside the Megadisc room. So you can see the piano that used to be there. What I basically did was, because I really liked that green color, I kind of really zoomed in crazy for all of this kind of like coloring in the background. This is actually also the same thing that I used for the TV effect for season 1, where you see like you see like next time and this time and stuff like that, right? And the date, and then you see like the screen.
Yep.
What's background like moving behind it is this. It's just like really close up footage of The Office.
Interesting. And you just literally got a camera, punched in, and grabbed all that footage?
No, I grabbed this footage from a video that's online.
Really?
Yeah, and I just took that and I zoomed in and I was like, all right. You know, because when you're trying to emulate a TV, you don't want to make things out to like take away from like what you're really trying to focus on. So when you're emulating the TV, you know, like TV against your face, like TV lighting against your face, you want like something that's gonna like move around and change but not be like definitive. So kind of move in, you can, I'll show it for you here. Yeah, you can kind of see that like there's some cuts in there too. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is just straight from a video. And what we do is we take that clip and then we put it behind me.
Okay.
And so now what we're left with is this.
2.0.
Right?
Back at it again with another video.
So then what we do is we apply some effects. So the effects that we're applying are called grid overlay and artifacts. So artifacts does this type of thing to it.
Okay.
You can see like the extra artifacts there. And then what we do is the thing that really works out, that really pushes the D3B thing that I think a lot of people like, is the grid overlay. Okay. So it's another like kind of glitchy effect from Pixel Film Studios, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. You can see these two effects working together now.
Hi!
Ooh,
welcome
okay.
to the project.
Really the next thing we have to do is we actually have to put the D3B effect on it. But before we do that, I'm gonna take these effects off because they render so freaking slow. Now what we're gonna do is we're going to relight. And so this is so you can't tell who it is. It's a relatively simple process. So I applied a color board, and what I wanna do is add a shape mask, okay? So this shape mask, we're gonna select here, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of like, you know, dent my face a bit.
Okay.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, raise shadows, lower highlights kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like do that kind of thing, so it's a lot harder to like distinguish the face. Looks kind of stupid right now. Apologies for filming the screen, which is called telescening. Recording screen on a Mac with OBS while running these kind of like janky plugins.
Terrible screen recording, yeah. OBS in general on Mac has terrible screen recording.
Yeah. And the audio too is horrible. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to go into distortion and find something that like is a bit goofy. Wave is what we want. Okay, so we're going to throw a wave over this. Okay. But what we're also going to do is we're going to go into the settings here and we're going to do the same thing. Add a shape mask. So it only applies, you can see the wave only applies to the face now. And so we also don't want to like do it that much.
2.0.
You can see that like it's a little bit harder to make out. Let's just go with that. See what that looks like.
Back at it again with another video.
Then what we're going to want to do, Pro ASC2. This effect right here, I actually have to go into a generator. So this generator, right? So you can see what comes up on screen here, right? So I'm going to take this down here. You're going to immediately see it started to affect the footage. And we want to click, see right here where it says ASC map?
Yes.
We want to type D3B. Boom. You see that?
Yep.
So now it's made up of a bunch of D3Bs. We can also change like how it looks. You can see as I'm changing the threshold, it changes based like on what letters what. You know what I mean?
Oh, it switches the letters up?
Yeah, exactly. The background color will keep black. The text color, we're gonna go for that like mega green type thing. We wanna make that bigger. We wanna make the font size bigger. Because the font size bigger is basically like pixelation, right? So it's a lot harder to tell what's happening. I think we used Menlo for the font. Let's use Menlo Bold. Okay, so now look where we are so far, right?
Nice. Oh, you see the wave in the background too.
Exactly.
That's really
you
nice.
You can see the wave in the background. As we're moving, we really only see D.
Yeah, there's like a few threes, but a lot of Ds.
Yeah, exactly. A few threes, but a lot of Ds. Take that how you will. So we're going to change the threshold here.
So you switch that threshold and that switches the occurrence of letters, or does that switch what causes certain letters to come up?
I think it does a little bit of everything. So you can see as I'm changing this, like you can see like how it changes like the amount of letters. Really what I want to do is I want to get a decent amount of letters into the face. There we go.
Oh, okay.
Because people are going to be looking at the face. So now we have like a nice balance of D3 and B.
All right, so we're going to throw up a couple screenshots right there
Yeah.
to show you what we're looking at in terms of like the diversity we have.
You can't really tell it's me at all. I think you should be able to tell a little bit more, if anything. So we're going to actually take down the font size just a little bit. So it's a little bit easier to tell it's me if you know it's me. But that's the thing, right? That's the curse of knowledge, right? Where it's a lot of people, they don't realize the disconnect between what they know and what they're experiencing, because that happens a lot, where someone will know that that's me and they'll look at that and be like, oh yeah, I can tell, I can 100% tell, because you need to like actually put yourself in a person's shoes that doesn't know the information, right?
Yeah.
And so that's like what makes really great teachers, is the ability to like superimpose their awareness onto someone else so that they're actually communicating in a way that is effective for the person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if I assume you know a bunch of things, then you're not going to know them. But it works the same way with this, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I can tell that's Matt. I can tell that's Matt. But if I threw that up, obviously if I threw it up, but if someone else threw it up, no one would know.
Yeah, even if
No
they
one would
knew
know.
you, even if they knew who you were, they wouldn't know. It's you.
Exactly. They wouldn't know it's me. Maybe because of the ears, but
Stop, too harsh on the ears.
we can also pad things a lot.
What does padding do?
Padding, you can see there's spacing in between.
Okay, so yeah, it does affect that spacing a little
Yeah.
bit. So this is the comparison right now of what padded versus unpadded looks like. So that
Yeah.
you can see the spacing.
So it's also like a bit dark. Yeah, let's grayscale it. So that's looking a little better already. And occasionally, you know, what you want to do then is you want to kind of like go back in to like, let's say these masks and like adjust them. You can see it'll like bring back stuff into my face a little bit. And so you have to like kind of go back and play with things.
It's a lot of fidgeting.
Next, we turn back on the effects. You'll get a better understanding of like the artifacts and the grid overlay of like what that's doing.
Okay.
Boom. Okay, so now really starting to look like D3B here.
Yeah, once you added those effects back,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
huge.
I'm a little dark, so I'm actually going to go into this color board and lighten me up a bit because it's just a bit too dark. So I'm just going to like literally take exposure up, and you'll see me like jump up on the frame here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that works
That looks
a bit
really good.
better. We don't want it too bright, but we want to definitely stand out against it. We want a little bit more variation in tones. So now if I bring the shadows a little back, we have like it's a little darker, it's a little lighter, there's a little bit more dynamic range, a little bit more contrast. That's what makes it look like a little better, right?
Yeah.
So you can't really even tell now because I've like distorted the face so much.
Mm-hmm.
Last but not least is we compound all of this stuff yet again because we have to add more effects to it. So the alternative to compounding it would mean I would have to apply the same effect to every single layer, or just the top layer, and it wouldn't quite behave in the exact same way. We want to give it like a little bit of a glow, right? So we're gonna just search glow, see what we come up with here. Or ooh, glow rays, that's exactly what we used. You can see it's a little bit extreme up here. You
The
know?
God rays flying through.
Exactly, but the God rays are actually what we did end up using.
Where do you get all your effects from? Like, do you go to different websites? Where do you find them?
Yeah,
Do you just know
like-
what to look for?
A lot of these are from Pixel Film Studios. Other effects you get on the internet from like a various amount of places. So that's too big. The thing about what we're doing right now is that it's not technically realistic to see God rays on the screen, baked into the screen. Generally speaking, what would happen is if you were filming the screen, then the rays would come out of the screen itself. But since we don't really have that ability, and we were screen recording at the time, to make it a little bit more subtle with a subtle glow, I think is really, really important. So this is not that, obviously. So this takes a bit of tinkering. You can see I'm moving the center of the God rays,
Yes.
right? And that changes that. So we want to put that a little bit more centered with the face.
Oh, so it projects like it would naturally project.
Yeah, where the user's looking at, so they're not going to notice it as much. If I put the center right here and all of the subtle rays were pointing this way, the viewer is going to unconsciously follow those lines, right? And those are called leading lines. So if you're doing composition in photography or graphic design or video design or motion design or whatever, leading lines are critical, right? So if you really look at like all of our thumbnails, you'll see like a lot of time spent on directing your attention to the appropriate thing in the thumbnail. That's one of the reasons why you point. It's obvious like, oh, he's pointing, that's what I'm gonna look at, but there's a lot more to it than that. Because for instance, these leading lines are going up to my eyes, right?
Yeah.
If there's something bright or other things happening and I do this, right? Your eyes are naturally gonna flow up to the eyes, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the same thing here, right? So all of these kind of like lines serve to like bring you back to the center. and help you focus.
Okay.
Really what's important here, guys, is that you tinker. So it's a lot more subtle now. I think in the original one, because I didn't have much control here, is I added this effect twice. One where I isolated the God rays and then lowered the opacity, and another where I isolated just the soft glow and increased it. So it's a little less God rays, a little bit more glow. You get the picture here, right?
Yeah, that looks nuts. Wow.
Cool, huh?
Yeah, it's crazy how just like finding the right effects and just like a little bit of ingenuity.
You know, a lot of people will look into this and be like, how am I supposed to do that? Like, I didn't know how I was going to do it until I got into the computer. Like, I straight up was like, I think I know an effect and I can like figure out where to go from there, but I'd never tried it before we even shot.
Yeah.
So it's like the most important thing, I think, especially if you want to get into editing and visual effects and things of that nature, because a lot of you that follow me know that I've done visual effects like far more complex than this, like with like 3D animation and things. Of like 5 years ago I used to do that a lot. Don't really have as much time to do that now, but a lot of that is just tinkering. A lot of that is shooting some footage, having an idea, and then just trying 1,000 different things until something works, right?
Yeah.
And really honing your eye for what's going to look the most realistic and what's going to like fade into the background. And what I mean by that is you really want to focus on making something feel organic, making something feel natural. This obviously isn't natural per se, but it is natural in the sense of, okay, I understand what's happening, I understand the context, and now I'm immersed in what's happening, right?
Yeah.
But if we are using effects that like didn't quite make sense, this, for instance, this is totally disorienting. Even if you're not consciously aware, it's just not gonna work like that. Like an old piece of equipment that's shooting something, but also converting it into text is a really odd thing to happen, right? Because otherwise it would just be like, we'll just make it video. But the whole point of this is that she's trying to communicate through text and manipulating text in order to do that, right? You have to really feel like what's grounded in the story that's going to make it feel realistic, because like watching this back would not be the same thing. That's just strange.
Yeah, it's just clutter.
So that's what I mean about like visual effects. You kind of want to make sure the visual effects aren't standing out. You want to make sure the music isn't standing out. You want to make sure like the cinematography isn't standing out. If one thing is 10 times better than all the other, or just going in a completely different direction, then people are going to immediately be broken. And I'm not saying we haven't made that mistake multiple times. We have. But you learn every time, you get better, and you keep moving, you keep growing. Okay, cool. So now let's work on audio for a little bit, right? This is...
Back at it again with another video.
Okay, you can see like the reason why it sounds a little worse already, which is fine, is because I had the mic behind my screen here. That's okay, but originally we recorded with a lav, so it was like crystal clear audio. So we have to distort that in some way. And so what we want to do is we want to try a variety of different things. First one that we're going to do is we're going to disguise the voice. Instead of a female voice, we're going to use male voice disguise, right? And so now let's hear what that sounds like. We don't want to do that. That's a little too much, so we're going to decrease the amount and audition again.
Back at it again with another video.
Okay, that's fine. Next thing we want to do is we want to go car radio, right? So car radio is what gives it the more high pass. I always get confused between high pass and low pass, but whichever one we're removing the lows from.
Back at it again with another video.
Right? Multitune is what we add here.
Back at it again with another video.
So Multitune kind of like throws the voice through a variety of different things, and then we pitch shift as well. For instance, Multitune is something that probably a lot of people are familiar with because it's literally auto-tune is what it is. It's just filtering the voice through 2 different notes that I selected here. And right now it might not work great just because this was meant for a female voice.
Back at it again with another video.
Right? So what we'll probably want to do is we'll probably want to make it lower,
Back at it again with another.
and we'll probably want to lower the semitones on here.
Back at it again with another video.
So the idea here is that the pitch shifter and the multi-tune, it's like almost taking the voice and splitting it in 2 different directions. So if you listen to D3B really, really closely, you can see that it's like constantly alternating between this really, really high voice and this low voice, and your brain really struggles to like merge them together to make like a human out of it.
Yeah.
And so that's what really works, I think.
Back at it again with another video.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Especially when you're distorting voice, you gotta put subtitles because it's so hard to understand. But when you put good subtitles on, the audience just reads the subtitles and it's not too big of an issue. And that's the audio portion.
Nice. So
Yeah.
that's D3B. Can you do me a favor? Can we render this out and I'll throw it at the end of the video so people can watch
Yes,
it?
it's not as well perfected as
The
Deb,
original
yeah.
Deb, yes.
As the original Deb, that's 100%.
But they can at least see how the whole finished product looks fully rendered. So let's watch that right now.
Hi, welcome to Project 863. I am D3B 2.0. Back at it again with another video.
Well, thank you very much for checking out how we made D3B. If you're curious and have more questions about anything regarding Season 0 or Season 1 right now, let us know down in the comments below. We'd love to explain how we made this magic happen. Thanks for watching. Make sure you click this video right there. That's a good one. If you've made it this far, you'll be interested. And this one is one that YouTube thinks you specifically will enjoy. Bye.
Bye.